Hi, thank you for joining us. Today we'll be talking on the subject of what is Salah. What is the meaning of the word Salah? And when someone is performing Salah, what are the things, the ingredients that make Salah to be complete? And that is what we'll be looking at. So, from the word going, the word Salah is actually an Arabic word which literally means prayer. It literally means prayers or connection, like some would put it. It is both a physical and spiritual act. It consists of prostrating, bowing, reciting, and standing in an act of worship or as part of worship. Because no Muslim will perform Salah without involving this act of bowing and reciting, standing, and prostrating, because it is what makes it. And every Muslim is expected to at least perform Salah at least 5 times a day. That is the instruction. You are expected to perform at least 5 times Salah a day. So the Salah, like I've said, it is a daily reminder of your Creator. You remind yourself by performing Salah that you are a subject, or rather, as the Muslims are taught, that they are slaves of Allah. And because their relationship with Allah is that of a master and slave, they are simply slave or otherwise called servant. And therefore, they must always be reminded about that status of theirs with Allah and be disciplined in that order. They discipline themselves and they have a moral guidance on everyday activities. A Muslim, even at the market, or even in the office, or even at war, or even in places, they must, as a matter of a slave of Allah, they must create time to pray that prayer at the time is needed to be done, because Allah will not want to allow them to escape that day without completing their prayers as a duty of a slave slash a master relationship. That must be done. So, like I said, that is that. So, the Quran might not have given us a direct word or structured in terms of how the Salah is and what it's all about, but we can see some things from kind of research what it explained further and all what have you. So Muslims are required to perform the 5 prayers at a prescribed time. So there is a time. Remember, in our previous video we talked about the mode of worship. God of the Bible in Christ had revealed how to be worshipped. Jesus will put it that God is seeking for worshippers, true worshippers. The worshippers are actually true. And who must worship God must do that in truth and in spirit, because He, God, is a spirit and must be worshipped in that order. That is in the Christian teaching. According to Jesus, God is spirit, and whoever that must worship God must worship Him in spirit and in truth. However, in the Quran, we see the God of the Quran, and that is Allah, who is otherwise a master, and that whoever must worship Allah must worship Him as a slave and master relationship. And that is why the 5 daily prayers are prescribed at a time, and it's supposed and must be done at that time. If for whatever reason you couldn't do it, so you are expected to make that complete at the time, though the Quran and the Hadith never give you the opportunity to do it at your will. There is a time fixed for it and you are expected to do it. But if for whatever reason you couldn't do it, you can, as part of the obligation, you can create time to do. And that is why sometimes you see a Muslim will pray 2 or 3 different prayers at stretched, because he must have missed some of the prayers that he's supposed to have done at certain time. He didn't do them, but he will just put them together at once and do them subsequently in order to meet up, because he have to complete that, being a slave. So there are times which is Fajr, before dawn. That is, I don't know what that means. Fajr, is it before midnight also? Midday, that's do. Azhar or Asar, afternoon. Maghrib, just after sunset. And Isha, that is the night. So these are the 5 listed prayers. Each prayer has a specific number of units, that is the rakat. Each prayer has how many rakat are you supposed to say, or to do rakat. And the wudu, of course, you must have do the wudu, that is ablution, to ensure that it's done as prescribed. And then a typical prayer include actually standing, which is qiyam. You have to stand in reciting verses from the Quran. Whatever verse you are able to remember to recite, there's no problem to that. You can just do that. You have to bow down, which is ruku. That's glorifying Allah. And in the process, you are also reciting some verses in the Quran. And you also have to prostrate, that is sujud or sujada. So you have to prostrate like they always do it, as showing submission to Allah, which they say Jesus did. That's by the way. And you have to do the sitting, that's the tashahud. In the tashahud here, you have to reciting the testimony of your faith. That is like declaring your like we call it a creed. So you have to do that when sitting and counting this thing that they have at hand. And then the last one part of it, you have to do the salam, which is turning the head and greeting peace to end the prayer. So you have to turn around and say assalamu alaikum to those, whether anybody is there or not. You have to just do that as part of completing your prayer session. So that is the structure of the Salah as it is. And it is very significant because it is compulsory and it is part of the Islamic practice, and Muslim who are adherent to Allah, they have to do it as it is. Now, in continue, the significance of that Salah is the fact that it is a direct link between a Muslim and Allah. So it connects Allah to a slave. It connects Allah and his Muslim worshipper. It connects between the servant and the slave master, because that is a way of like paying your kind of things, doing it in a way that Allah tends to feel convinced that you are actually a obedient servant who is faithful to his job on daily basis. And it also strengthens the discipline and mindfulness. So it reminds you always about your relationship with Allah, and it keeps you intact in order to keep your relationship flowing afloat as fast as it's concerned. And it also had a significance in making it a community kind of thing. That is why they wouldn't want to always have it done on individuals. They will want to have it as a community formation where you have 2 or 3 meet together. And I think that idea is also in the Bible, where Jesus will say, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I will be in their midst. So I think it's also significant because it strengthens the relationship. They share their experiences, they share their concerns, and some will even bring their needs, requests to those who have the capacity to support or help or provide whatever it is for them to be able to support the other ummah who may need that. And we see, in addition to that, there is a verse that supported that, or some verses rather. In Surah Al-Baqarah chapter 2, verse 238, we have the verse it's in saying that God strictly the prayers, especially the middle prayer, and stand before Allah with obedience. So Allah is saying that, I think this verse is specifically focusing or instructing the prayer of the middle day, which is like we always say on the Friday prayers, Friday Jumat. You see the Muslims running skelter, running up and down, trying to make sure they catch up with that prayer, because they believe there are some specific and special blessings that are attached to that prayers. And once one misses that, it's like you have missed so much, and you can't easily have a replacement for that. So it's always touchy, and that is why they will do all they can to ensure that that is observed as much as possible. Now, the last verse, which also suggests the fact that successful indeed are the believers who humble themselves in their prayers. So in your prayers, as far as Allah is concerned, is an act of both worship and obedience to a master-slave relationship, and then that will make you a successful candidate for Al-Jannah in any form that Allah chooses or decide that will be done. And that is found in chapter 23 of the Quran, verse 1 and 2. So that is the summary of prayers. What is Salah and what that means. So, but what is so striking is the fact that when we find out in chapter 33 of the Quran, verse 56, where Allah is performing the same prayer for Muhammad. Surprising you, right? Yes, even myself, I was shocked when I see that. But let's just read the verse together so that you wouldn't be saying that I maybe concocted that and that it has no basis in the Quran. Let's see it together, and then though we may have some kind of translations that may want us to believe something different, but then the Quran I will always be clear, because the language is clear and the meaning are clear. You can consult other books and other writers, or even Google, to give you the literal word-to-word meaning for each of the word. It said, indeed, Allah and His angels performed or sent Salah unto the Prophet. Allah and His angels send Salah. The word sent does not exist. It's not there. It's not there in the Quran at all. It's not what is written there in the Arabic form even. Oh, Allah, send your blessing upon the Prophet. So it never said that Allah send. In fact, let's look at let me just a minute. Let me get the transliteration. But I just want to draw your attention that the words used there, it was used as yusalluna ala an-nabiyya. So which simply means that Allah and the angels along pray to Muhammad. That's direct Arabic meaning or transliteration of those words. Allah and the angels pray to Muhammad or to the Prophet. Pray to the Prophet. Let's even assume it's pray for the Prophet, but that is not what it said. We are just going for what don't want to add anything. What the word said is what we are saying. Allah and the angels pray to the Prophet. How? And why should Allah, in collaboration or in conjunction with the Prophet, with angels, be praying to the Prophet? That is simply so serious. It's raising so much concern. Who is then the Prophet, and why should Allah, a whole Allah, be praying to him? Is he now the God that should be worshipped or that is being worshipped? Could that be explaining why, if you dare say any disdainful word or statement against the Prophet, the Muslim will want to have your head beheaded? But you can say anything to Allah and you go free? I think this has so much deeper meaning than we can understand. Because if Allah and the angels are found here praying, let's even go by their translation. Allah is sending blessings to Muhammad. Allah along with the Prophet, along with the angels. Why should Allah collaborate in His divinely and Godship act? Okay, an example is that should Allah have collaborated with someone to create a man or mankind or anything at all? No, the Quran said no. Allah do not have a partner and cannot be partner with anybody. So if Allah had never been partner with anybody in performing any act that is only can be done by Allah, why should this time around Allah be collaborating with angels and be doing something that ordinarily He should rather do it alone or if it's something that is meant for men or his creatures to do, he should just ask the angels and other human beings to do it instead of him going to collaborate with them doing. Can you imagine Allah joining hands with the angels and be praying for a prophet? Assuming it's even sending blessings like they want us to believe, sending blessing along with the angels. What does mean blessing? Can angels actually bless anybody? Or are they sharing is the blessing is some tangible that Allah and the angels, they have to carry the blessings, each of them, and just be sending it to the prophet? How do they do it? Because I don't have a problem if Allah send blessings to Muhammad. It could just mean that Allah bless Muhammad. That would make sense. But when you say Allah and, the conjunction simply means together they do it. So do the angels also have access to bless? Can they also bless anybody at all? Do they have the power and the authority to bless anyone? Or was Allah mistaken, or was the language somehow? We need so much clarification on this. Even though the Muslim Ummah want us to believe that, look, it's just the word is just, no matter how you put it, whichever way, it is still a failure. It is still problematic for Allah to have get to that level, condescended to that level, to wanting to work with the angels in blessing Muhammad. This is questionable, and that is why we have a problem of who is actually being worshipped in Islam. Because we see Allah being insulted in some cases, being attacked, and nothing happened. But if you dare say anything that tends to be disrespectful to the Prophet, then count your head to be beheaded tonight. And that is the problem. So what is actually prayers? Because even in some translation here, we find out that the translators try to struggle that the word Sallah it means prayers when it applies to human beings, but when it applies to Allah, it means blessing. And in the Arabic language, there is nothing like that kind of translation. The word prayers is the same meaning to both Arab Muslims and Christian Arabs. So it has one meaning, which is prayers. And the prayer is of that 5 times a day. It's not just like normal prayer where you say, safe journey, or God bless you. Those normal prayers are called dua. Dua is not Salah, it's called dua. And that is what we have found out in the Quran. And therefore, we so much more focus on that. And we have now discovered that we have Allah busy praying to and for a prophet somewhere, which is so concerning and is so curious for us to know whether is now Muhammad the subject of worship, or Allah is actually the subject of worship, and what was Allah busy doing along with the angels in collaboration to send either blessings or to pray to the prophet, or whatever they were doing. What were they actually doing? We wanted Allah to explain more, so as to understand what was all about. However, from the conclusion we could derive from the historical explanations and from the Arabic language itself and from all the accounts we have, we can clearly establish with all certainty that Allah was praying along with the angels to Prophet Muhammad. And therefore, it then makes Muhammad to be the subject of worship, not Allah. Though the Muslims may reject it and may say it is not true, but the reality had proven otherwise. And that is what we can provably and we can convincingly establish here. Thank you for joining us. If you have some questions, you are open and free to bring some for us to discuss and to have them addressed here. Till we meet again, bye for now.